John Gerard was an English Jesuit priest who secretly served the Catholics in England during the period of persecution under Queen Elizabeth. His journey as a Jesuit took a dramatic turn when, in 1594, he became involved in the Jesuit mission to England. He is perhaps best known for his daring escape from the Tower of London in 1597, where he had been imprisoned due to his Catholic faith. This escape, along with his subsequent work in the mission field, solidified Gerard's reputation as a courageous figure in the annals of English Catholicism. Gerard's escape is chronicled in his autobiographical work, The Autobiography of a Hunted Priest, which he also describes his torture in the Tower of London. He describes his torture as following:
We went to the torture room in a kind of procession, the attendants walking ahead of me with lighted candles. The chamber was in a dark underground cellar. It was a vast place, and every device and instrument of human torture was there. They pointed out some of them to me and said I would try them all. Then he asked me again whether I would confess, to which I replied, I cannot. I fell on my knees for a moment's prayer. Then they took me to a big upright pillar, one of the wooden posts which held the roof of this huge underground chamber. Driven into the top of it were iron staples for supporting heavy weights. Then they put my wrists into iron gauntlets and ordered me to climb 2 or 3 wooden steps. My arms were then lifted up, and an iron bar was passed through the rings of one gauntlet, then through the staple and rings to the second gauntlet. When this was done, they fastened the bar with a pin to prevent it from slipping. Then they removed the wooden steps from under my feet and left me hanging by my hands and arms fastened above my head. The tips of my toes, however, still touched the ground, and they had to dig the earth away from under them. They had hung me up from the highest staple in the pillar and could not raise me any higher without driving in another staple. Hanging like this, I began to pray. The gentleman standing around me asked me whether I was willing to confess now. I cannot, and I will not, I responded. But I could hardly utter the words. Such a gripping pain came over me. It was worst in my chest and belly, my hands and arms. All the blood in my body seemed to rush up into my arms and hands, and I thought that blood was oozing from the ends of my fingers and the pores of my skin. But it was only a sensation caused by my flesh swelling above the irons holding them. The pain was so intense that I thought I could not possibly endure it. And added to it, I had an interior temptation. Yet I did not feel any inclination or wish to give them the information they wanted. The Lord saw my weakness with the eyes of his mercy and did not permit me to be tempted beyond my strength. With the temptation, he sent me relief. Seeing my agony and the struggle going on in my mind, he gave me this most merciful thought. The utmost and worst they can do is to kill you. And you have often wanted to give your life for your Lord God. With these thoughts, God, in his infinite goodness and mercy, gave me the grace of resignation, and with a desire to die and a hope, I admit that I would. I offered him myself to do with me as he wished. From that moment, the conflict in my soul ceased, and even the physical pain seemed much more bearable than before, though it must, in fact, I am sure, have been greater with the growing strain and weariness of my body. Sometime after 1 o'clock, I think, I fell into a faint. How long I was unconscious, I don't know, but I think it was long, for the men held my body up or put the wicker steps under my feet until I came to. Then they heard me pray and immediately let me down again. And they did this every time I fainted, 8 or 9 times that day, before it struck 5. A little later, they released me and took me back to my cell. My legs and feet were not damaged, but it was a great effort to stand upright.
Father Gerard endured the horrific pain of his torture, refusing throughout to confess or divulge any information. Eventually, his torturers admitted defeat and sent him back to his cell. So damaged were his hands and arms that he recorded that it was 3 weeks before he could hold a knife. During his imprisonment, he found ways, often by both befriending and rewarding jailers, to communicate with others in the prison, to visit around the cells saying mass and hearing confessions, and to receive visitors from outside at times. He was also able to send messages written invisibly with either lemon or orange juice. Thus was important information sometimes exchanged. However, after his torture, it took Father Gerard some months of recuperation before he could adequately control any sort of writing instrument, and of course he was much weakened in all his muscles and joints. Nonetheless, there came a time when he was able to visit an imprisoned gentleman in a tower across from his, which was close enough to the stream near the prison area that they might attempt to escape by night after communicating with free friends to secure the necessary equipment. In this case, a strong, thick rope along with a means to draw it up to the roof of the tower. On the night of October 4th, 1597, he made a daring escape from the Tower of London with the help of friends on the outside. He slipped into the English countryside and remained undiscovered for another 8 years. Finally, with the attempt to blow up Parliament and the discovery of the gunpowder plot in 1605, the political atmosphere became too dangerous. Father Gerard slipped out of the country and sailed to the European continent disguised as a member of the Spanish diplomatic mission. Modern studies of the effects of the type of suspension torture used on Gerard, reported by organisations such as the Danish Institute Against Torture, show that it can cause dislocations and permanent and lasting damage to the nerves and blood vessels of the hands. While Gerard seems to have made a full enough recovery that he was later able to scale the walls and moat of the tower in a daring escape, others who have suffered the same torture have not been so lucky.